You weren't neglected. You were trusted, and that trust rewired your brain in ways science is only now measuring. Picture this: 3:30 p.m. Tuesday. The school bus drops you off and you walk home alone, key hidden under the flower pot, doors swinging open to silence, not panic, just the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of your own footsteps on linoleum. You drop your backpack, pour a glass of milk, maybe flip on the TV for 30 minutes of after-school cartoons before homework begins. No one checks if you're okay, no GPS pings your location, just you proving to yourself, again, that you can handle the next few hours alone. And that quiet repetition built something unshakable inside you. This wasn't abandonment, it was apprenticeship. Because while modern parenting assumes more supervision equals better outcomes, the 1970s childhood operated on a different principle: radical trust. You spent entire afternoons in what neuroscientists now call an unstructured play laboratory, building forts from fallen branches and old blankets, inventing elaborate games with nothing but sticks and imagination, settling disputes with friends without a single adult stepping in to referee. When someone scraped a knee, you fetched water and a rag. When boredom hit, you wandered into the living room where your mom folded laundry and muttered those two words every 70s kid knew: "I'm bored." And she'd look up without missing a fold and say the three words that shaped your neural pathways forever: "Go find something." No tablet appeared, no activity was scheduled, just you and that restless, itchy feeling, the uncomfortable space where creativity is actually born. So you'd wander outside, stare at clouds until they became dragons, reorganize your baseball card collection for the third time that week, call a friend who was equally bored, and in that shared emptiness, something would emerge. A new game, a makeshift ramp for bikes, a story you acted out with neighborhood kids until streetlights flickered on. You learned boredom wasn't an emergency to be solved. It was a signal from your brain saying, "I'm ready to create." And modern neuroscience confirms it. fMRI studies show periods of understimulation activate the brain's default mode network, the exact region responsible for creativity, self-reflection, and innovative problem-solving. You weren't wasting time, you were training your brain to generate ideas from nothing. Then came the risks. The tall oak tree at the end of the street with branches thick enough to climb until the ground looked small below. The steep hill you raced down on your banana seat bike with hands off the handlebars just to feel the wind whip through your hair. The questionable pond behind the school where you and your friends jumped off the railroad tie bridge every summer, despite your mom's warnings. And yes, you got hurt. Scraped knees that stung under hydrogen peroxide, twisted ankles that swelled purple by evening, maybe a broken arm that earned you a cast covered in friends' signatures. But here's what those falls taught you: an internal calibration system for risk. That oak tree? You learned exactly how high you could climb before branches grew thin. That bike jump? You knew the subtle difference between a thrilling landing and a trip to the emergency room. This wasn't recklessness, it was wisdom earned through direct consequence. While other generations might freeze when faced with uncertainty, your brain learned to assess, adapt, and act because you lived through both caution and boldness and knew the difference in your bones. And when emotions hit hard, you had nowhere to run. Something happened at school. Someone said something cruel, you failed a test you studied for, you had a fight with your best friend. You walked home in silence, went to your room, lay on your bed staring at the water-stained ceiling, feeling that hot tightness in your chest, anger, embarrassment, disappointment swirling without escape. You couldn't text for validation, couldn't scroll through feeds for distraction, couldn't even call a friend because your mom was on the landline talking to her sister for the next hour. So you just sat with it, felt the feeling until it passed, punched your pillow once, flipped through a comic book without really seeing the panels, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, the tightness loosened, the heat cooled. You learned emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents, that you could feel disappointment without catastrophizing, that conflict didn't require immediate resolution or external reassurance to survive. Psychologists call this emotional self-regulation, the strongest predictor of success in relationships and careers. And for you, it was just Tuesday afternoon. You also learned to wait, really wait. All week long, you'd anticipate Saturday morning cartoons, planning your entire Saturday around being in front of the TV at 8 a.m. sharp. When your favorite show ended on a cliffhanger, you waited 7 full days to discover what happened next. No streaming, no spoilers, just pure anticipation simmering in your chest. Christmas morning felt magical because you waited 365 days. That new bike meant something because you saved allowance for 3 months. Summer vacation was euphoric because you earned it through 9 months of school bells and homework. This rhythm of anticipation rewired your brain for delayed gratification in a world that moved at human speed. Stanford research now shows adults who regularly postponed immediate pleasure for future rewards have 34% lower addiction rates, greater relationship stability, and stronger career resilience during economic downturns, not because they were disciplined, but because their childhood environment made patience unavoidable. And now, decades later, you stand in your own kitchen, watching your child struggle with a math problem or navigate a friendship conflict, that instinct flaring hot in your chest. Fix it, smooth it over, protect them from the sting. But your hand pulls back. You give them space. You ask, what do you think you could do differently next time? Not because you read it in a parenting book, but because that's the question your own brain learned to ask after every scraped knee, failed test, and broken promise. You prioritize competence over comfort, not as philosophy, but as lived truth. Because you understand what modern parenting has forgotten. Overprotection creates anxiety, while manageable struggle builds unshakable confidence. You watch your kids experience small failures without rushing to rescue them, not because you don't care, but because you know temporary discomfort leads to long-term strength, that struggle builds character, that independence creates genuine security. These aren't beliefs you chose, they're neural pathways carved deep by empty afternoons, silent houses, and the radical trust of adults who believed you could handle it. You carry within you something increasingly rare in our hyper-connected world, a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you. Your brain was literally rewired by freedom, strengthened by boredom, calibrated by risk. You're living proof that we've overcomplicated raising resilient humans, that sometimes the best gift isn't protection from struggle, but the tools to navigate it alone. And the world still runs on that competence you earned in silence. The server fixed at 2 a.m., the crisis managed without fanfare, the bridge held steady while everyone else argues about who gets credit. You were trusted, you became capable, and that quiet legacy, forged in empty houses and unsupervised afternoons, is the invisible backbone holding everything together. If this resonated, if you lived this or love someone who did, you're not nostalgic for a better time. You're recognizing a specific kind of strength that got engineered out of childhood. Subscribe if you want content that respects your intelligence. No hustle porn, no generational warfare, just insight that lands. To every 1970s kid watching this, that empty afternoon didn't break you, it built you, and the world still runs on the competence you earned in silence. The best gift wasn't protection from struggle, it was the tools to navigate it alone.